Hey, and welcome back to another episode. I want you to imagine that you're exhausted on a hamster wheel that never stops, and it's grinding harder every year just to stay in the same place. While right next to you is a garden already blooming with everything that you want in life. Today, Tildet Varon, the woman who lost her family business, her father, and her marriage all in one brutal year, reveals exactly how to step off that wheel forever and start tending to the garden that's already been waiting for you. So Tildet, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Tim.
I'm glad we were able to make this conversation happen today. But before we dig into the heart of the subject, I kind of want to know, I heard that you're a little bit of a gardening expert and you really love roses. Can you tell me a little bit of a backstory about how you got into it?
Sure. It's a big story and it's a big part of my life and getting into the leadership role, really. I started with planting 3 roses in my backyard and I loved it so much. It kept growing to 90 bushes of roses.
Wow.
Yes. So I tell everyone, you don't need to plant 90 bushes. I'll teach you the essence just with 1 or 2 bushes. But I learned about myself, about life, and about others through my roses. So it became a metaphor and it became an environment where I really connected to myself and to others. And I started running these rose banquets for 12 years in my backyard where 50 people will come and we'll learn about ourselves, about life through the metaphor of the roses. And therefore, my logo is a rose unfolding because my mission is helping others to unfold their magnificence. And that's how I learned that from my roses. So, and if you want a little bit more, I can tell you what the roses mean to me in a short way.
Yeah, no, I'd love to know about it because I actually had some knockout rose bushes
Yes.
at another property, and they're huge. Like they were like 6 feet tall, about 12 feet wide. And if you had 90 rose bushes, I don't know what type of rose bushes they were, but that's a lot of roses.
It's a lot of roses. So it was all kinds of roses. I had from the English roses to old roses to shrubs to knockouts to every kind of roses. And the rose symbolically meant to me, we as humanity, we're a rose all connected in the unfolding. Each person is a rose, unique in their size and the count of petals and the color, in the scent, in the type of thorns we have or we don't have, depending on the environment. And we are also a rose garden, each one of us, in different places in our lives. We're in different stages, in bloom, needing to be pruned, totally open and magnificent, in blossom. And also each one of us is a gardener, and where we can get together and support each other, how to make our rose garden grow and be beautiful and be what we need it to be.
So just want to unpack that for a little bit because it's very symbolic, it's very deep, and you've talked about a lot of different things. Let's talk about what you mean about what as it unfolds and what that really means about people and how we all unfold in our lives.
Yes, and that's a great question. It's a deep question, right? It all starts for me. Our unfolding starts when our awareness starts coming in as to who am I? What am I? Who am I? And that question requires to go in and reflect and get to know who we are, what we love, what we don't love, what triggers us, what motivates us, what inspires us. And starting connecting to ourselves is the beginning of leadership because that's how we're going to connect to others.
So with that connection piece and how it starts with us, because I'm a firm believer of we got to fix ourselves and it all starts with ourselves too. And that goes into the being. Is that how you kind of related the roses into the framework with Be Do Have?
Yes. So everything starts with the being. And I think what the rose garden allowed me to do was be. That was the place where I could stop my doing and just be or decide who I wanted to become. It gave me that reflective pause, that moment to really contemplate and ask the deeper questions that I wanted to know. And I think it all starts with ourselves. And I call it, we cannot lead others before learning how to lead ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. And that's where it all starts, with the knowing the self, accepting ourselves with all that we are, our strengths and our weaknesses, because we are all human beings and we all have the strength and the weakness, and that doesn't make us less or more. It just makes us who we are.
Absolutely. Being with ourselves in that stillness part. With working with other people, especially in this day and age where everything is so much on the go, everything is now super fast. I need stuff now. I need to constantly do. How hard is it to get people into the being and stillness phase?
Very hard. It's very hard. It's hard, yet when we do it from a place of invitation, not a place of judgment, criticism, arrogance, but an invitation, and having others experience the beauty of being, and and showing them very in a slow pace. I call it in life, let's stretch ourselves, not snap ourselves. So stretching into a little bit of pause, stretching into shortening the to-do list, really understanding what matters to us, being in alignment in what matters to us, that all makes a difference. And as we experience the difference, we are willing to implement more of it, right?
Right. When you said alignment, where
Yes.
do you think that alignment comes from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that alignment comes from our values, our beliefs, and our actions being aligned. And that all also starts with our mind and our heart being aligned. When there is no inner conflict, inner pull of this direction, that direction, instead of forcing the doing becomes a flow. It becomes joyful. It becomes natural. It becomes a reflection of who we are. And then things feel like, oh, magic is happening. Things are falling into place. People are showing up. Outcomes are as we want them to be. And when they're not as we want them to be, we're still okay with it because we are in inner peace, if you will.
For folks listening to this and watching this, and they're like, okay, I hear what you're saying about alignment, but what does that look like? Like, how would that represent themselves? Because I would probably offer that maybe people don't understand what it looks like, and that's why it's such a big problem.
Yes. And I agree with that. What alignment looks like is doing things that we like doing things that are in our genius zone that we are here to do, instead of comparing ourselves and thinking, look, so and so became so successful because they did this, they gardened, or they led, or they became a CEO, or they became an associate, whatever they became. It doesn't matter. Is that bringing joy to us? Is it something that is making us feel fulfilled? Is it meaningful? And of course, we do have to make money to provide for ourselves, our families, and all that. But all that can come with ease instead of grinding, instead of hustling constantly. Who am I? What am I good at? What are my strengths? And where can I use that to make an impact? Because when we bring value and impact, there will be a way that we can provide. I don't know if that makes it clearer or not.
It does. And we'll get back to the value and impact. But for the folks out there who say, well, I have to grind, I have to get on the hamster wheel and keep doing the same thing, because otherwise, how am I going to get forward? What do
Yeah.
we What do you offer up as a counteroffer to that?
Yes, I think that is what is going on right now. We did become a doing culture and nothing is enough. And we are constantly doing, doing, doing. But because of that, our stress levels have increased. Our mental health is not doing so well as a whole community, country. Our mental health is suffering because the forcing does bring burnout and it does bring illness and it does impact our well-being. So that's an indicator of being out of alignment, if you will.
Mm, yep. Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that point up because if we're in alignment, what we're doing should bring us joy and
Yes.
it should be fruitful, right?
Yes. And it doesn't feel like grinding. Like we can be very passionate and sit and spend hours intentionally on something that is important, that's work, that's that. And then there is, I have to do, I should be doing. That is not alignment. So it doesn't have to be hamster wheel. I think it's the energy that supports the action determines the alignment or misalignment. As we are unpacking this, I'm also thinking and speaking out loud, you know?
Yeah. And I love that because oftentimes I wonder how often we do things because we're expecting an outcome that we want desirable for us versus doing things out of value and impact for others
Yes,
that's going to have that impact for them. So
yes.
how can we understand the difference between the two?
That is a difficult discernment. That is, how do we, I would say, hopefully the ideal situation will be that it is for the highest interest of all, that it benefits all, ourselves and the others. That will be the ideal situation and the common ground where everyone is honored, respected, but that's not the reality of life at all times. So I think sometimes there are times in life it's okay to push. There are times in life that we may need to exert a little bit more energy, effort to get to where we need to go. But in the process, I think taking the pauses to check where we are. Where is our battery at that time? Is it enough? Do we have enough capacity? Are we going towards burnout or are we going towards success? And as long as we have that awareness, I think the discernment starts coming in because we are clear and willing to honor our goal, yet honor where we are in the process and bring ourselves to alignment, if you will, if we are going in a dangerous zone.
Yeah, when you talk about that, I think of in terms of anticipation versus stress and like anxiety, right? Both have energy to them.
Yes.
One leads to a negative place, one leads to a positive place.
Yes, exactly. And that brings a very important point because when you study anxiety and excitement is the same energy. It's our how we are interpreting it and perceiving it makes a difference. So if we are really aware of ourselves and we have worked on our self mastery, we can turn that anxiety into excitement and funnel that energy in a positive way. Yet it requires practice, it requires awareness, and it's possible though. And I like that you brought that in. Yes, the energy, it is how we are guiding it. Where are we funneling it towards?
Would you say the hamster wheel is more anxiety and forward momentum is anticipation and excitement?
Yes, and automation, right? It's automatic. We don't know where we're going. We're just going, spinning. And if we were to, we're afraid to stop because if we stop, the momentum will end. And what if we don't get anywhere? But we are not hamsters and we don't have to be on a hamster wheel. If we took a pause and said, okay, what's important to me? What really matters? Where am I going? And who am I becoming in the process? Is this someone I want to be? Is this something I have to have? And how is that impacting me and others?
Those are great points, all about why it's so important to focus on being on ourselves so that way we know the direction we're heading into.
Yes, yes, because a lot of the times what I find is leaders don't rise by doing more. They rise by becoming more. So the hamster wheel, we're exhausting ourselves, but are we becoming?
Yep.
I think this requires, though, a shift in mindset. It requires a pause to reflect. It requires to be surrounded by people that are role models. And it does also require some more learning about ourselves, where we want to go, how to reach there, and how do we achieve more. Less is a really shift in mindset.
And for people out there that are looking at this and say, okay, you're talking a lot about being, what is the return investment on that? Like if I'm focusing on investing in people, if I'm a leader, then I'm going to invest in other people and develop other people for them to be better.
Yes,
Because I also want a succession and a lineage of people to replace me one day.
yes.
So if I'm focusing on being, how do I determine that return of investment?
Yes, great question. So, being is the identity, is your presence, how you show up for yourself and for others. And it's your emotional discipline also, right? And now, when you are being a empathic leader, a leader that has self mastery, integrity, generosity, wisdom, all the things that we want in a leader, your actions will come from that being. And that is the doing. So the doing becomes your actions, your accountability, it becomes your behavior. So when you are choosing to be kind, to be respectful, to be in integrity, to be generous, whatever you're choosing to become, now the actions will follow without forcefulness, because who you are, already you show up as that person. And the have part is the trust, the alignment, the culture that you create as a leader.
Absolutely.
And that's how I look at that.
No, I really love that, because you can't do anything that's out of your alignment and out of your being, is what I hear you saying. So if you're trying to be and who you are being and becoming, your actions follow that.
Exactly. Yes.
So let's talk about the do part of this framework for a little bit. So what does that look like?
The two part is when I choose to become the leader that I am choosing, all the traits that I want to be. Now, my doing, my communication, my way of relating to you or to others and to myself, really, will start changing. If I am in integrity or not, my behavior, accountability, communication will change, right? If I am generous versus selfish, things will change for me. So as I decide who I want to be, there's a natural flow of expression. And that expression is the action, is the communication, is the decision making. These are all the external expressions of my internal state, if you will.
Okay. So because the third part of this, and it's going to come back to do in a second, is have,
Yes.
right? So what does that have part look like in this framework?
Have part looks like really when we want something, when we want to have something, whatever that is. I want to live peacefully or I want to be kind. For me to be living peacefully, my being needs start to be peaceful, because if I'm aggressive, if I am angry, if I don't have emotional intelligence, as much as I want to be peaceful and I want to have kind interactions with you, my inner state cannot express that, cannot create that.
Okay. So So when we focus on the be do have for function of this, what do we say to the people who are just materialistically or monetarily driven by that and not the other parts? How do we get people into the don't worry about the financial piece of the having of the $1 million or having the car or the big house or whatever? How do
Yes.
we get people to focus back onto the things that really matter, that are lasting?
Yes. That's a $1 million question. That's the $1 million question. Yet, how would I answer that? Who I need to be to answer that question, right? I need to be this wise person that can bring so much clarity as to. So people sometimes, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, we are designed to learn through pain,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
So no matter how much we say something to someone, they need to experience it to arrive.
Got it. Okay.
And hopefully, there will be enough inspiration or authenticity in our conversations to make an invitation to someone that have not considered this to pay attention and maybe to bring a little bit more in. And there's nothing wrong in having the big house, the nice car, or whatever people want. Yet with that, who are we? If we can have it all and still be kind, be peaceful, be understanding and good and to others, yeah, let's go. And all of us deserve to live comfortably and happily. Yet, I really think if things are not aligned, there will be some form of collapse and pain and suffering that will wake us up to reality of what life is and who we are.
I was, as you explained that, I was thinking about another conversation I had with a different gentleman. And
Yes.
he was saying that he had a goal to buy a $1 million home. Like he was like, I'm going to buy a $1 million home. I'm going to live on the beach and I'm going to have an ocean view and all these other things. And he did it. But then he realized he picked up this phone to call his girlfriend and she didn't answer the phone. He picked up the phone to call his mom and his dad. They didn't answer the phone. And he picked up the phone to call a friend and they didn't answer the phone. And he looked around and he realized, I have a $1 million home, but I have nothing else. And I think that's the part of the collapse that you're talking about.
Yes.
Is there's nothing wrong with wanting the materialistic things or doing that, but we have to be aligned in a way where our being also creates an environment that we're surrounded by people that love us and care for us along the way.
Yes, exactly. So along the way, are we integrating all accounts, not only the monetary account, the bank account, but the relationship accounts, the joy account, the community contribution account, the spirituality, emotional, mental, everything needs our attention, our investment, so we can withdraw from it. So our being then encompasses, hopefully, all that so that there is more having at the end than just one thing, and we forgot all the rest along the way.
Because I love the framework be do have, but if you're not familiar with it and you just look at it, be like, well, if I want this thing, then I have to be this person that does these actions to get that thing, and then it's an easy solution. But it's a lot more complex than that.
Yes, yes, it is a lot more complex than that. Yet it's a great framework. It's doable, it's understandable, and it's also challenging. And I think those challenges that we bring upon ourselves, again, in a gentle way, makes us grow. We don't have to break to become. We can gently become by choosing.
My next question is, are there any blind spots with the framework be do have that often get misconstrued or people don't necessarily know about? Like, what are those blind spots of that framework?
Yes, there are blind spots, and I think we all have blind spots to ourselves. Sometimes we think we're in alignment, but we're not, right? Requires, that's why Community is important. That's why mentorship is important. That's why asking for help is important, so that we are checking ourselves with people we trust and that have been on the path, so that they can point out, yeah, you think you're being generous here, but can I point out that when you did this, that's not very generous. And this is why I think it is important to have people around us. We're not here to be alone. We are here to collaborate, to support each other, and to elevate each other. And the blind spots will be there, the biases will be there. Even if we think they're not there, they are there. We're people. We're human beings.
And that's why accountability is so important.
Yes.
And you mentioned to have people surrounding you that have been there. So can you elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean by surround yourself with people who have been there and are the people that you want to become?
Yes. So if we, whatever business industry we are in, we have role models or people we appreciate or admire, and we want to be like them. And they've arrived to where we want what we define as success, whether it's the big house, whether it's contributing to community, whether employing many people, whether providing for our families. However we define success, there is many definitions to it. So when we don't have to push so hard. Say generations can take others to their shoulders and make them rise faster. So if there is so I always tell everyone, come on my shoulders. You don't have to suffer. Get on so I can catapult you there faster. I've done that. It doesn't work this way. It's better that way. So if there are people we trust or people that have arrived to destinations that we want to arrive to, getting that $1 million house, how do I do that? Where do I go? How do I build that money? And then you follow the footsteps, always though bringing your authentic self in. Don't forget yourself in the process.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Because it all starts with you.
Yes, yes. You have to bring you. And you is the zesty part of the journey. It's not your journey. It's someone else's journey. And you think you're arriving and you won't, because it needs to be your journey. Yet you can learn how to get there quicker. Did they walk there? Did they bike? Did they take the helicopter? Did they fly?
Absolutely. And as you talk about that, I'm just reminded there's only one Tildet and there's only one mission that Tildet was given. Right.
Yes.
And when you find that alignment, like I can't try to be you, and you can't try to be me, and it doesn't work. And so I love how you kind of all package that together and say, finding your alignment with that and being your authentic self and showing up as you.
Yes.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And exactly, who said it? I don't remember. One of the people said you can only be the second best to anyone else. You can only be the best you. We don't want to be second best to anyone else.
Right? You don't compete with anybody and I don't compete with anybody because there's only one mission we're given.
Yes. Yes. And that is the unfold your magnificence, because if you are in your mission, bringing your magnificence, and I'm doing the same, and Joe and Mark, everyone is joining in. Now we create this, everyone's magnificence creates a magnificent place. This is where I think collaboration makes us reach where we need to go faster, because we are all helping each other. We are all in our genius zone, bringing our unique mission, unique skills and strengths. And that's what I think makes the world a better place.
Absolutely. And I'm reminded that you wrote a book called The Thriving Family Business, correct?
Yes,
So
yes, I
if you
have
could
it right
just
here.
so if you could just tell us a little bit about that and how you came up with it.
Yes, this is my book is called The Thriving Family Business. Celebrating Peace at the Table and Profits to the Balance Sheet. It is a book about family businesses, but really it's about leadership. My focus is family businesses because I was born into a family business and lived the good and the bad and the ugly of the family business. And then worked over 15 years with family businesses to bring harmony and success, peace and profits together. So the book is both a little bit of my story and a lot of leadership guidance as to what do we need to do? Do we need to be? What do we need to do to have what we want to have? And someone that read the book that wasn't in family business said, Tildet, I would recommend the book to every leader because there's something to learn from the book. Yet it is written for the family business leader.
Is there a part in there that talks about this is how you should leave your family to your kid?
As we all are unique, that we just said, every family is also unique, right? Some family businesses can be left to the upcoming generations. There are people that want it. And there are some family businesses, there's no one to leave the family business to. Then they have to think about how to exit. How do they want their legacy to continue? And so each family requires a unique their way of assessing what stage they're at and what their legacy for the future looks like. And so I don't think there is one formula for every family. Yet, if new generations are willing to come in, then having honest conversations, open conversations, and mentoring the new generation is very important. And one of the things that I talk a lot in the book and in a lot of other places also is the generational gap in our conversations. We, depending again in our being, our values, the years we were raised in, how we see business success, meaning will change. And we may all be saying the same thing, but it all comes out differently. Yet, creating those cultures and environments in the family where we're trying to understand each other instead of judging, criticizing, and how do we keep the relationships going is as important as getting the profits to the balance sheet.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that because as I have conversations with folks, there's a growing sense out there that people start a business and they don't think about their exit strategy or how they're going to leave it to people.
Yes.
And you having a unique perspective, being you, being born into a family business and having gone through, the ups and the downs and maintaining relationships, I'm glad that you put that in there. For anybody listening or watching this, go in the descriptions. You're going to have the link to Tildet's book. You're going to have all her social media and her website there as well, as that you can reach out to her and pick her brain. And that way you can get in touch with her to get all the goodness that she has to bring. So Tildet, before I let you go, my
Yes.
last question to you is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
That's a good question. I think the most important things always for me to leave people with is to remember that you matter. You as a person matter. How you show up for yourself, for others, makes a big difference in your impact, your presence makes a difference. And because you matter, you need to take care of you. You need to value you. And you need to unapologetically show up as you, trusting and building your confidence because we need you.
I can't think of a better way than to end this episode with that parting word right there. So Tildet, thank you so much for joining us, and everybody else for watching and listening. Thank you for stopping by and checking this episode out.
Great. Thank you, Tim.